welcome to the Glen Kuiper Show on a Thursday night. We're closing in on the weekend. Thanksgiving is behind us. Christmas is coming. The baseball winter meetings are coming. So there is a lot going on. But tonight, we have a special show. This is something I've been wanting to get into for a while. We have the perfect guest to get into it with. We'll explain all that. But college athletics in the world of NIL, name, image, likeness. It has changed college sports, and there's a lot to it. Some good, some bad. We're going to cover it all tonight with our special guest, who we will get to in just a minute. But this is indeed a special edition of the Glen Kuiper Show, college athletics in the world of NIL. Now, tonight's show is brought to you by Partners Capital, a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performance and lasting peace of mind, with experience guiding professional athletes as well as families next door. Partners Capital delivers thoughtful planning, steady guidance, and a clear path forward. Partners Capital, your partner for a stronger financial future. Call them at 1-888-702-7743. We're also brought to you by Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. They are Bay Area based and they are family owned. It's Tilden Properties. Call them at 925-209-8558. And they're also brought to you by the Carrick Real Estate Team. They have been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service dating way back to 1978. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making your first home purchase, trust the Carrick Real Estate Team to guide you home. Contact Mike Carrick today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. Call him at 925-548-4132. So great sponsors. We have a couple more we'll get to midway through the show. So here's the specialty tonight. Again, college athletics in the world of NIL. So much going on now, especially with the Lane Kiffin stuff. And so I really just wanted to step away from baseball, step away from the NFL, and talk about this tonight. So how does it work? How does the NIL work? What are the issues? What can be done to correct some of those issues? Well, my guest has dove into the NIL world, and he and his company may have some answers to fix the issues. Let's bring in my guest. His name is Ken Gamble. I've got to know Ken. This is a sharp guy, founder and managing partner of Partners Capital. Ken, thanks for joining us. You and I have been wanting to do this show for a while. There's so much to talk about. Before we get into this, though, tell me a little bit about your company, Partners Capital.
Well, before I tell you that, Glenn, I really appreciate being on the show with you. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. As you know, I grew up in the Bay Area, big A's fan, Warrior fan, Raider fan. And so it's a pleasure to be on with you today to talk about this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
My company, we've been working with athletes, helping them manage money, manage their finances, make good financial decisions for nearly 25 years now. Started in the early 90s. There's been a lot of great athletes come out of the Bay Area, as you know, well documented. There's also a great business community in the Bay Area with Silicon Valley there nearby. And so we have been doing that since the mid-90s. And now it has come to this day and age where now it's not just professional athletes getting paid, but it's college athletes getting paid. And that used to not be how it was. That it never was like that. So it's opened up a new challenge for everyone, to say the least.
Yeah, it has opened up a whole bunch of stuff. Some people like it, some people don't. But I just, I wanted to. You have dove into this with your company, and we've talked many times about this. But I want to keep this really simple for our viewers, Ken, because you know how it works. You know how the money gets from A to B to C. I don't fully understand how it gets from A to B to C, but I just find it so intriguing because it has changed college sports. Some people think it's for the better. Some people think it's for the worse. That's neither here nor there with our conversation. But so tell me, if I'm a 5-star recruit, I'm a great quarterback, and I'm going to go to the SEC, where, at what point in the recruiting process, Ken, does NIL money come into play? And when it does come into play, how do I get it? If I'm this 4 or 5-star recruit. So I'm just curious about the process of how it gets from a booster into the hands of a big recruit going to an SEC school.
Well, that's a great question, a great place to start. A lot has changed even in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, it was only NIL, which is boosters, as you said, donate money to the schools, and the schools then funnel it to the players. But now they have rev share, House versus NCAA, which has allowed schools to pay compensate athletes directly. But that being said, you asked, where does it start? Well, a 4 or 5-star recruit often does want to go to the SEC, but there's also other good conferences. The Big Ten is incredibly competitive. The ACC is incredibly competitive. Basketball for the Big East, etc. First, you figure out where you want to go and where you can play. And then the question comes up, which used to never come up, but now it does, is how much can I get paid at that school? Sure. It is a question that gets asked of coaches and scouts and recruits of the universities that never used to get asked before. It's a real deal. It's a real deal. And the fact that athletes are getting paid, it's a good thing. I mean, athletes have made schools a lot of money over the years, and they deserve to get paid. They deserve to be compensated. It's the execution of the NIL universe that has caused everyone involved to become frustrated. But to answer your question, it goes to the university, or the university takes it out of their athletic budget and says, hey, a wide receiver in the SEC is worth $100,000, and that's where we'll start, as an example. And that's where it goes.
So so it sounds to me like, so you said a wide receiver is going to cost you this much, quarterback's going to cost you this much. And, we're talking big schools, but maybe even to the smaller schools too. It almost sounds like the money is slotted for each position. If you're an SEC quarterback, you're going to get this much. Or, if it's the transfer portal and an SEC school, Big Ten school, whoever it may be, needs a starting left tackle, it's going to cost them this much. Is that sort of the way it works?
That is exactly how it works. I've spent the last 2 years on the ground talking to athletic directors, head coaches, boosters, donors, if you will, fans throughout the SEC, the Sun Belt Conference. As you know, I'm based out of Nashville now, and spent a lot of time at the SEC, some of the Big Ten schools. In the Sun Belt, for an example, which is a mid-level conference, they'll tell you a wide receiver, we have a book. We'll open up that book, and that book says a starting wide receiver in the Sun Belt is worth $25,000. Now, they'll all pay the same, but if you want to win the Sun Belt, you probably got to pay $40,000 for that wide receiver. Wow. And then the question is, where does that money come from, and how do we do it? But yes, they have a slot there per conference and per school.
That's crazy. Now, before we get to the next part of this, so these are called collectives. That's kind of where the money is literally collected, the NIL cash. But they are not directly tied to the school or the university. Is that correct?
That's correct. The collectives, and not every school has one.
Okay.
Some schools have done away with their collectives and don't have them anymore, and some still do have them. But a collective is exactly what the title of the organization is. It's a collective of donors, alumni, supporters of the university, donate their money. For different events, or they'll get different things for that money, and that money then gets handed over to the athletic department, and they spend it on player compensation. Not every university has a collective. Some just pay straight from the athletic department.
Sure.
The problem is, we complain about this in professional sports: unfair playing field, unlevel playing field. The New York Yankees have a lot more money to spend than the Oakland A's. Well, it happens in college sports as well. The House versus NCAA ruled that universities could spend $20,500,000 on athletes, on player compensation, but not every school can afford to pay that.
Sure. Yeah.
$20 million at Alabama, University of Alabama, is like 14% of their athletic budget, where at Southern Miss University, it's 78% of the athletic budget. So they can't afford to pay it. So there's always going to be a need for collectives. There's always going to be a need for donations. There's always going to be a need to offset expenses. Yeah. That's what these schools are running into.
So it sounds great. We got big boosters, deep pockets. They're paying to get better players for the university. The players are getting paid. It's all legal. It's changed the whole landscape, but it sounds great. But as you and I have talked, and you've educated me a great deal, it really is the wild, wild west out there. And there is frustration among the donors, the boosters, which I found interesting when you and I started talking about this. Players are fine. They're getting their cash, right? Right. But you are finding out as you go to these universities, as you go to these campuses, as you meet with these boosters, that there's frustration. What is their frustration?
Yeah, we call it donor fatigue. It's a real syndrome. It's donor fatigue. Donors are not used to donating for player compensation. What donors are used to doing is what they do best, which is donate to the universities they love, donate to the universities that were there for them when they needed to be educated. Yeah. They donate money for the betterment of the university, renovating an academic building, renovating an athletic facility, donating a scholarship. That's what donors are used to doing. And when they're now being asked to donate to player compensation, at first they took the stance, okay, yeah, I want the football team to do better. I want the basketball team to play better. I want them to make it to the Sweet 16. And I'll write you a check for $100,000 and I'll donate that to the player compensation pool, because the athletic director or the head coach of the team will say, hey, we need this starting power forward for the men's basketball team, or we need this wide receiver for the football team. We need $100,000, and they'll write that check, and that check will go in. The player will get paid, and the team will win 4 games on the football field, or the basketball team will finish middle of the road of their conference, and they'll feel like they never got anything for that. The team didn't win, and then the player leaves and goes to another university, which I don't blame the player for doing. They can go on to another university. I don't blame anybody for finding greener pastures if that's what they think is happening. We don't tell people in corporate America they can't switch jobs. So they'll move on to another school, and the donor will feel slighted.
Sure. Because he is, right? I mean,
yeah. We donated $100,000. The player took the money. That's great. They played okay. And they moved on. Money doesn't guarantee winning. That's the problem. And so they feel like their money is not well spent. So they don't feel like they want to do that anymore. So we call it donor fatigue. They would rather do something else with their money than donate. And that's what I mean when I said earlier that the execution is poor. Coaches. What do coaches do best? Coaches coach. They sit in the film room. They figure out who they're going to recruit. Who are we going to recruit in the nation? Who are the top running backs? Who are the top women's basketball players? Who are the top men's golfers? Who are the top women tennis players if they have a women's tennis team? That's what they want to do. But instead, they're being asked to, instead of sit in the living room of the players and the players' families from high school, they're required to sit in the living rooms of boosters and share their time with that. I was on the phone with a head coach of a prominent major college football team. And I was talking to him last summer before this prior season started. And I said, Coach, where are you headed? And he said, I'm headed to XYZ donor's house. It's about a 2-hour drive. I'm going to sit in the living room. I'm going to sit on their couch. I said, what are you hoping to accomplish? He says, well, I'm hoping to get a check for $50,000. And then I'm going to another donor's home, not far, to try to get the same thing. And I'd rather be back in my office figuring out who we're going to recruit, but I got to figure out how much money we have first before I can do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by the coaches aren't doing what they're best suited for.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what I mean by poor execution. And then finally, the universities aren't doing what they do best.
Mm-hmm.
What universities do best is educate students and educate student athletes. That's what they do. They bring in professors, they research and development. But right now, as we sit here tonight, Glenn, there are probably 250 to 300 war rooms set up across this country, from the Pac-12 to the SEC to the Big East to the ACC, Sun Belt, Big 12, all trying to figure out where are we going to raise money to pay the teams we need to pay. I know there are teams in the Big East that are looking for $5 to $8 million to field their men's basketball teams. That's what they need this year, next year, et cetera. So they shouldn't be trying to figure that out. They should be doing what they do best, is educating athletes.
Yeah. So you have to have, I mean, are they getting to the point where you have to have somebody do that for them, right? I mean, you have to.
They have to.
Right.
They're trying. It's very difficult, Glenn. I have an affinity for Washington State University. My niece, Madeline Gamble, who went to Carondelet right there in the Bay Area, played golf at Washington State. And I saw a press conference the other day. Yeah, go Cougs. I saw a press conference the other day with Coach Jimmy Rogers, who came over from South Dakota State and is the head coach at Washington State. And he said at the press conference that, there's a lot of moving parts to being a head coach in college football now. The recruiting is different. You got to have the money to pay them. You got to manage. You got to monitor who's talking to the players that you're talking to. And if you've offered them money, if somebody else is offering them more money, it's very difficult. And he's rightfully frustrated. A lot of coaches are. So to your point, you need help. You need help. You need help doing it. So it's the execution that's bad. Everyone's out of their lane.
Yeah. All right. We're going to find out what Ken and his company are trying to do to make it better for everybody. But we got to check in with a few sponsors. Area Rug Cleaning Direct, a subsidiary of Gamble's Flooring. If your area rug needs professional cleaning or repair, Area Rug Cleaning Direct will pick up and return your area rug looking brand new within 5 business days. Family owned and proudly serving the Bay Area for over 35 years. Call Area Rug Cleaning Direct at 925-933-9999 for all your area rug needs. And we're also brought to you by our good friends at Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged for your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord properties. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. All right, so Ken Gamble is our guest, the founder and managing partner of Partners Capital. So we got an idea, Ken, now how this whole NIL thing works. It sounds like it's great for the players, a little messy right now, getting it to them and the donors, the sponsors. Maybe they want to see a little something more for their money. Maybe they don't want to keep writing checks and handing them to the university. That's where now people are probably wondering, okay, this Ken Gamble guy certainly sounds like he knows a lot, but what is Partners Capital all about? Well, that's where you guys come in, because you have set up a plan. It's in motion. Every time I talk to you now, you're like, well, I'm on my way to Knoxville because I'm going to see Tennessee. And I'm like, wait, I want to meet you there. I want to go see you. But you guys have a plan. And we want to make everybody happy, right? Let's make donors happy and the kids happy.
You have to align the interests of everyone involved. This is the problem. I'll tell it, and the process and the system needs sustainability. It needs predictability. You need to run it like a business. I want to take a quick reference back to Pat McAfee. He was on College Game Day a couple of weeks ago when they were in Nashville, and he told a story on set. He said that West Virginia, the guys at West Virginia, where he went to school, called him and said, hey, we made a couple of commitments to some players, financial commitments, and the donors backed out. They decided not to donate the money that they had originally indicated they would donate. Can you write a check? Can you help us out? And Pat McAfee said he wrote the check, sent it to West Virginia to help out. And Nick Saban asked him, how do you feel about that? And he said, well, I don't know how I feel about that. Kind of neutral. That's what he said on air. And that just goes to show you a little bit more of the chaos that's happening in this arena. I don't blame the donor for backing out. A donor had something else come up, probably. I don't know who it was. He had something else that was more pressing, could be a family emergency. Who knows? That's his business. It's her business. Whoever that person was, there's no predictability and sustainability there. So what we've done at Partners Capital is said, listen, this is a business. College sports is a business. It needs to be run like a business. The universities, they run themselves like businesses. They take in tuition, they receive tax dollars, they pay their staff, they pay their professors. It's a regular business. Businesses out in America, they provide a service to their customers, their clients. Those clients pay. It runs like a business.
Sure.
But in the world of player compensation, let's call it that.
Yeah.
What you have is you're creating liabilities by promising players, hey, we can pay you X. Or here is what it takes to field a roster. If I'm going to field a roster in the Big East in basketball, I need $5 million. Okay, go find that money. Go find it. You have a liability. Now you got to go find it. And they go dialing for dollars, and they hope that donors are in a good mood when they call. They also have the university to turn to, say, hey, how much of the rev share can we get? Remember I said they can pay up to $20 million in this university. But the university has a lot of things on their plate and a lot of places they need to divert the money to. It doesn't all go to the football team. It doesn't all go to the baseball team. So invariably, a particular sport or a team at a university will have a shortfall, and therefore they need money. So what we've done is that how can we align the donor's interests with the university's interest, with the athlete's interests? And Stanford University, right there in your neck of the woods, sort of has figured it out a little bit. In that they have this gentleman here last week, Mr. Freeman, that donated $50 million. It's in the news. He donated $50 million for the purpose of NIL infrastructure and scholarships for football to better elevate the performance on the field. So not every university has someone who can donate $50 million. They're setting up a separate fund that will then offset, that will grow in perpetuity, and some of the returns from that fund will then go to pay some of the players.
And that's what you want to do.
That's correct.
So let's simplify this, kid. So I'm a donor at a big university, and I got $100,000 that I want to give. So you're saying, instead of just writing a check, giving it to the university, and then you're like, I don't know what happened to it.
Right.
You really lose control of the $100,000, even though you are giving it to the university. You're saying, give it to Partners Capital. We're going to invest it for you, and you're going to make,
not exact close. What we're doing is we're going to universities and talking to the donors and saying, look, let's set up a private fund.
Yeah.
Instead of donating to the player compensation pool, invest in a private fund that you own. So to do an example, we'll go to a university and 10 donors. And if 10 donors want to put together a private fund of $1 million each, creating a $10 million private fund, then that fund will be invested as per the allocation that we set forth with the donors. the fixed income allocation where we can earn income and distributions to pay the donors an allocation, and then the fund will also donate to the university. That way the fund grows in perpetuity, becomes larger over time, and at the same time can help donate to the university's foundation and then benefit the players. So to be real specific, there's a school in the Sun Belt Conference who spends about $1 million on athletic player compensation. We're going to put together a fund of $10 million. Our goal is to earn 10% on that money. 5% will go to the donors, 5% will go to the university.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that, they will earn an additional $500,000 in donation and raise their revenue by 50%. And it will grow in perpetuity. And all of a sudden now the donors are making money on their money.
Mm-hmm.
The liability created by the player payroll is being met.
Mm-hmm.
And donors aren't upset if players leave because they're making money on their money, and they've set up a fund that will grow in perpetuity for the benefit of themselves and the benefit of the university they support. That's how it works.
So, and that's, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. So if I'm one of those people that donated and now I'm in a fund with 5 other people or whatever, and it's making money, perfect. I'm happy. I can say to you, hey, Ken, I want to give this much, to the school.
Correct.
But I still have some control over my money, right?
Correct. You can get out of the fund at any time. It's liquid. It trades like any other fund. It's set up in a private manner, and you direct your assets. So we call it an investor directed fund. So if you invest $1 million in the fund, let's call it the St. Mary's Athletic Fund. I just use that because it's in your neck of the woods.
Sure.
St. Mary's Athletic Fund, and there's $10 million in that fund, and there's 10 donors each with $1 million in that fund. It's part of their portfolio. Yeah. It's growing like anything else. Our fund is a fixed income based portfolio, so it's stable. But it'll produce cash flow to the donor, who's now the investor, and cash flow to the university. But for simplicity of math, as I said before, if it grows at 10% and we give half of it to the university, all of a sudden St. Mary's has an extra $500,000 that they have. But the donors also made $500,000. They made money on their money, and it's been growing in perpetuity, and they can sell it at any time.
Yeah.
People coming out. And the greater the fund grows, the more that the fund will be able to keep up with the rising costs of athletics.
Yeah.
I was at a university in the Sun Belt Conference not too long ago, and they pay their quarterbacks in that conference about $150,000. And they would like to pay $250,000 or even $300,000. The cost of athletics is going up every single year. You can't outwork the capital markets. If the private fund owned by the investors for the benefit of the investors and the university continues to grow in perpetuity, you have a better chance of keeping pace with the rising costs of athletic compensation. Selling bourbon bottles like they do in the Southeastern Conference for $1,000 a bottle is great for fans. It's great. It's awesome. And that's needed. But you're never going to pay a quarterback $500,000 doing that.
Yeah.
You have to implore the capital markets. And finally, our fund, because we've worked with athletes for 25 years, any money that comes off of the private funds that we set up, the athletes will be required to sit down with someone in their local community, in the university's community, and talk about investing and how to better manage that money. It's one thing to receive $80,000 or $100,000. It's another thing to understand how to manage it and how to budget it. Most of these kids are not going to the professional. They're not going to the pros. They're not going to the NBA. They're not going to the NFL, and they're not going to Major League Baseball. They're not going to be drafted. Most of these kids will get through with a paid for education and $50,000, $60,000, or $100,000 in their bank account, and that's a great start in life. That's a great start in life. and they need to know how to manage it. So we'll partner with the local advisors in the community to make sure these athletes are getting the financial education that they need.
So it looks like to me is what you're trying to do is make it a full service situation. You're
That's right.
helping, you're making money for the donors. They're not just writing a check and watching it go to the university and then not, they're having some control over their money, which, listen,
Correct.
if you're a big donor, I would guess you like that.
Correct.
You're making them some money. They can take money out of that and give it to their school, NIL, anytime they want. But you are also trying to take care of the young men and women who are getting this NIL money. Let's
Correct.
make sure they invest it. Let's make sure they get taken care of. Like you said, even if it's $100,000, heck, that can go a little ways for you if you don't make it to the NBA or the Major League Baseball or the NFL. So you're trying to cover and take care of everybody involved in the NIL.
It has to work for everyone. It can't just work for the investors. It can't just work for the players. It has to work for everyone. We all have to be on the same side of the table. So the way this came about was a donor brought this to my attention and said, hey, I enjoy giving money to renovate buildings and scholarships, but there must be a better way. And that's where it started, which was the idea of this fund. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I went out about a year and a half ago. I brought in 2 portfolio managers that specialize in managing private funds. They came from a large Wall Street firm with 2 decades of experience managing debt strategy, not the volatility of the stock market, but debt strategy, bond strategies, stable strategies that are appropriate for this kind of venture. And I brought them in to join our firm for the purpose of managing these private funds for these very specific reasons and purposes. Couple that with 2.5 decades of managing athletes and helping them manage their money and understanding the environment that these athletes come up in. It's not that the problem. The issue is that student athletes are young, and it doesn't matter that they're athletes or not. But when young people come into large sums of money, it takes some getting used to. Sometimes the kids, they just need to get used to seeing the money on their phone. That takes some time. You have to understand that. And people think, oh, I would do better. Maybe you wouldn't if you were 21 years old and had 250. Maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. But maybe you would. But it's very difficult. So you have to be patient. You have to understand it takes time and just teach them to go slow. Whether they play sports or not, they're young with money, and that's what it takes. So we're uniquely qualified to handle this space, doing it 2.5 decades.
So Ken, there's a couple of questions that our viewers want to ask you, but I want to ask you one more question. So this sounds like a great idea, and you and I have spoken about it many times, and I've explained it to people, and everybody's like, wow, that sounds like a really good idea. What's the pushback, if there is any, when you go to a university and bring this idea up?
Yeah, there is pushback. There is pushback from the athletic departments, from the athletic directors. They've often said, well, if our donors invest in your fund, then we don't get the donations, and we can't wait a year to get the money from them. And I tell them it's not an or, it's an and, meaning donors will continue to donate. It's their business. They can donate to the local Boys and Girls Club. They can donate to player compensation. Mm-hmm. Our fund is joining their investment portfolio. Investors all across this country, large and small, maneuver and manipulate and trade their portfolios all the time. Our strategy is a debt strategy fund, which is often a complement to client portfolios. So it has nothing to do with their donations. Now, I will tell the athletic directors over time, the goal is to alleviate donor fatigue from the donors, meaning, let's say a donor gives $100,000 one year, puts $1 million in the fund, he makes 10, 12% on his money, $50,000 comes out of the fund in his name or her name to the school. Now they're only donating 50,000. They're still giving 100. We're going to reduce that donor fatigue so donors can go back to donating what they like to donate, which is to other causes, and let the capital markets solve the player compensation. So that's one pushback.
That looks a little short-sighted, though, from a athletic department's standpoint.
It is. It is short-sighted. It is short-sighted. And I tell them, listen, you have to take a 3 to 5 year time horizon. This is going to get away from you really quickly. Look at Stanford University, the beloved Stanford. I mean, it's the Harvard of the West Coast. I grew up in the Bay Area. I went to Alameda High in the 80s. I grew up loving Stanford. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, he gave a speech to the Stanford students 6 months ago, maybe a year ago now. I said, Stanford's great. Stanford, the students that go there are smart. They have high expectations. They expect to do well. They expect to succeed in the world when they go out into corporate America. Problem with students with high expectations is they have low resilience. And he said, if I can wish anything upon you students here at Stanford, is for you to suffer. And once you suffer enough, from that comes resilience, and from that comes success. Mm-hmm. That's Jensen Huang's words. I'm paraphrasing, but I love that. Yeah. What did Stanford do? Stanford's football team and their athletics has been really not very good the last few years because they rested on, we're Stanford University. Everybody wants to play football. Everyone wants a Stanford degree. And yeah, they should. But you know what? If you're not going to pay us, we're going to go somewhere else. And now they realize we need to do something different. So from their suffering has come some greatness. And Stanford's going to do just fine.
Yeah.
So that's the one resistance that we have is that. Other than that, the other one is, okay, Ken, we understand the portfolio managers that you brought in tend to earn double-digit returns on the fund. Now, I must say, for compliance purposes, past performance is no guarantee of future results. Everything is different. Everything is in and of itself. But that's why it's a private fund. Those that are invested in the fund, they're on the board of directors of the fund. They direct the fund. They are in constant communication. And most donors already are involved in private funds. They understand that. Most portfolios in America have alternative investments in it. That's not the issue. But they'll say, well, what if you earn 10% one year and 2% the next? Yeah, that could happen. That's real. But some years you'll earn 18. That's also real. So you park that money in the fund. It stays in the fund. You manage it like a business.
Yeah.
And if the athletic department says, hey, how much are we looking to get from the fund this year? We have communication. They still may have to go out and sell those bottles of bourbon for $1,000 a bottle. We're just hoping to alleviate it in some cases, some of the pressure. How do you raise $8 million dialing for dollars? It's not that easy. You have to have a capital fund. I said this to a head coach a long time ago, a year and a half ago. He said, well, and he's friends with he's friends with some of the bigger universities in the SEC. He said, well, like University of Georgia, they could put $100 million fund together and that could hit off $5 to $8 million a year easy. I said, of course it could. Very simple. And eventually that fund will be $300 million. And anybody can do it. But are you going to take the time then to educate the athletes, to go into the community? Do you understand the pressures on athletes to provide, to perform, and all that? There's a lot going on there, and experience matters.
Yeah. All right, Ken. There's a couple of questions. We got great viewers each and every night on my show, and I love the people, and I like to get to their questions if they have some. And there's a few out there, and one of our very loyal followers is Bake That Dough Cookies LLC. See, he's a businessman just like you, right?
Yeah.
He says, how does the prevalence of sports betting factor into NIL partnerships?
Well, that's an excellent question. It's under incredible scrutiny right now.
Yes, it is.
Congress and Department of Justice and all of that. And that like anything, it comes down to playing by the rules and following the rules of the laws on the books. I don't know of any partnerships, like corporate partnerships, like say a DraftKings, providing NIL benefits to an athlete. I don't personally know of any. I think that would be a little bit of a gray area for sure.
That would be a gray area. Yeah,
that would be a gray area for sure. So I don't know of any sports betting and NIL partnerships that I've heard of happening at this point. Yeah. And I would probably shy away from it.
All right, here. This is our last question. This is kind of a fun one. It's from our producer Ryan. And how much is Arch Manning worth? How much is he making? I mean, I know you probably don't have.
He's worth as much as he can make, right? I thought, aren't we all? But he's in the single-digit multi-million-dollar range.
Is he the top? Is he the top guy?
Yeah, he's the top. He's the top guy. Quarterbacks make the most. I mean, quarterbacks in the SEC are making $2 million a year.
Wow,
that's just what it is. And but here's the thing: I've been to several games at a Volunteer Stadium. 105,000 fans.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
Yeah,
105,000 fans, and there's no better football than the SEC. But the last game I was at, and I'll kind of finish up with a story here, was the Oklahoma game. Oklahoma at Tennessee. That was the last
game. You didn't invite me, by the way. My son goes to Oklahoma. My daughter's going. Why wasn't I there with you?
I don't know, but I don't know. But all I kept thinking was, there's John Mateer down there on the field, who was friends with my niece Madeline when they were both at Washington State.
Right. Yep.
And why wasn't he still at Washington State?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why he wasn't at Washington State. He wasn't at Washington State for two reasons. One, sadly, the Pac-12 dissolved and kind of fell on a little hard times. Now they're rebuilding it. But the other piece is Washington State didn't have the money to pay him what he was worth. And so he left. In a case like Washington State, quite frankly, they should be the favorites. Them and Oregon State should be the favorites to win the Pac-12 the next couple of years. They are the old guard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're not. They need to have the money. And Ryan Leaf is one of the commentators for the football team. He was on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago. Where are all the fans? It was cold, but the team has to get better. We got to keep players. Everyone talks about it, but no one and complains about it. But there is a solve out there. And the solve is get the donors together, the investors together, put a private fund together. Stanford's doing it with Mr. Freeman's money that was donated. We're not asking for donations. Let's put a capital fund together that benefits the investors and can benefit the university and the athletic departments that they so much care about. And the final piece is this: when you put better teams on the field, it's better for the local communities.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice for the hotels to be sold out, not during football season, but during baseball season. It'd be nice when a mother and a father take their son or daughter to visit a school. Hey, let's go watch the women's volleyball team. They're ranked top 10 in the country. And when you can do that, you elevate the entire community. So it's not just about paying players. It's also about bringing more revenue and more eyes on the university and elevating it for everybody.
Yeah.
That's what sports does.
And we should finish this by saying, our eyes always go to college football, but NIL is huge in basketball. You just don't have to pay as many guys, but it's starting to head into college baseball, which
Right.
has become each year it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Women's sports, women's softball, which is becoming extremely popular.
Right.
So college football, obviously, that's the first thing you think of, but NIL, I mean, it goes into every area of an athletic department, which is a good thing. I mean, obviously,
And donors care about that, Glenn. Donors care about women's golf. They care about women's softball. They care about, men's basketball. They care about all of that. And I know donors firsthand have told me that they have withheld their donation check this year or last year because it just goes to the football team. And they wanted to go to the track team, and they wanted to go to the swim team. And so by having this fund, this investor directed fund, the investors have a say on where it goes,
yeah,
who it goes to and what it goes to, because they want a more balanced approach. College is not the minor leagues for the NFL only. It is also a learning place, institution, an environment for kids to mature and get ready for the real world.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great point. I mean, what if you don't want it to go to the football program, and you don't even know where your money's going if you're just writing a check straight to the university?
Right. So here's how we do it. So here's how we do it. If we're right, the larger the check, the louder the voice.
Sure.
So in our fund, if we're donating $500,000 or $1 million to a university on behalf of the donors or the investors of that fund, this is what we would like it to do. We ultimately don't have control. We don't want to get into the business of the university. They manage their university and their money as they see fit. Yeah. But it comes with recommendations. Here's what we would like to see for our money. And we're just one cog in the wheel. We're not the whole thing. But we don't infringe on the university's ability to run their university. We don't infringe on the athletic department's ability to recruit who they want to. We don't tell them what to do. None of that. We're just filling a need that aligns the investors with the universities they support, and then educates the athletes who receive the money.
Yeah, and it's like you're the full service concierge. That's what you are. Take care of
a little bit of structure, and it's a little impact that's going to grow into a big impact. And if the university's not taking this capital markets approach, they will eventually, because you just can't keep up with the bigger schools, with the bigger donors, without using the markets as your ally. You can't do it with volunteers, and you can't do it with donations.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Hey, Ken, listen, I hope these universities and the boosters and the booster groups and the collectives, they ought to be listening to you. I mean, your idea it's more than an idea now. It's in action. It's
in action. We're doing it. Yeah.
But it makes an awful lot of sense to me. And I'm just a novice in this whole thing, but you've simplified it for me when you've explained it to me, and you just did it very well for 45 minutes, and it just seems like a win-win for everybody. That's the way it strikes me.
And yes, and it's a way to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, right? You're never going to be able to level it completely.
No.
Ken, thank you very much, and I just want everybody to know that we're going to do this a couple times a month. The subject is always going to revolve around the world of NIL and college athletics, but we're going to keep digging into this a little deeper each time. So we're going to do this show a couple times a month, and but the first one was great. You were awesome, Ken. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks. All right.
Thank you, Glenn. Talk to you
soon. All right. So Ken Gamble, he's the founder and the managing partner of Partners Capital. And if you're wondering what they were all about, well, now you know. He has a plan, and that plan is now in motion. And it's very, very interesting in what has become kind of the wild, wild west of college sports, with just the money the kids are getting. And it's crazy. It's become pretty crazy. But he's trying to kind of streamline everything. And you know what? I hope he does it. I hope he can continue to grow to grow his company, and I think he will. He's a sharp guy, and like I said, we're gonna have this special edition of the Glen Kuiper Show a couple times a month. It's not going to take the place of our Giants talk, our baseball talk. It's just going to be an added show or two each month. So just want you guys to make sure you know that. Remember, we'll be back next week. The winter meetings, baseball's winter meetings start. Everybody gets there on Sunday, and things start on Monday. So we will have shows throughout next week covering the winter meetings, see what all the teams are doing, especially the San Francisco Giants. So that's it for tonight's show. I certainly hope you enjoyed it. The sponsors, again, are Partners Capital, LLC, a wealth management firm providing financial strategies for elite performance and lasting peace of mind. It's got experience guiding professional athletes as well as families next door. So Partners Capital, LLC, call them at 1-888-702-7743. And now you got a little better idea of what Partners Capital is all about. We are also brought to you by Tilden Properties. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. Bay Area-based family-owned Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. Give them a call at 925-209-8558. And we are also brought to you by the good folks at the Carrick Real Estate Team. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making that big first family home purchase, trust the Carrick Real Estate Team to guide you home. It's carrickteam.com. Go to their website, see what they got, 925-548-4132. So we appreciate all of our sponsors. They have been great. And we have gone over 12,000 subscribers. I would have never, ever in my life imagined that we would have got there so fast. But in 7 months, we've gone over the 12,000 subscriber mark. And I owe that big thank you to all of you out there watching. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Hope you enjoyed something different, a special edition. We'll do it a couple times a month. So appreciate you stopping by. Lots of baseball coming up next week. Be ready. A lot of action. Let's hope the Giants score big. We'll see you then, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Glen Kuiper Show. Have a good night.